What's shaking, everybody? Welcome to a Tuesday edition of House Divided. I'm Jeff Ketchum. That is Chad Hastings. Why is that buy or sell question up on the screen? I have no idea. Welcome.
Preview.
I'm still going to go with it because I think it's a good question, Chad, but
I didn't even see it. I didn't see it. I think I saw 2 words of it, but I didn't see the full content. You're good.
The funny thing is I accidentally clicked on it before you did any of the intro stuff. So that was like a 40-second delay, buy or sell. I thought I was good. I was like, oh, it's not up on the screen. Nevertheless, great way to start the show. Hope everybody's having a good day. Do us a solid. Hit that like video. It's a thumbs up. Do what the Fonzie would do. Hey! And click that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel. Get notifications. Do all that stuff. That way, one of these days, you guys will be trained. Everybody will know to do it, and I won't have to ask, but it might not be anytime soon. Welcome to everybody that's coming into the Specs chat. Just chat it up. We'll use your commentary when it's interesting, like Ramon is letting us know right now. Beaumont, Texas, checking in. What up, Beaumont? I once went to Beaumont and got a facial. You know, the thing where they go in and get all of the dirt out of your face. It's a long story, but that once happened. By the way, hometown of Barry Windham checking in. Sweetwater is in the house.
Sweetwater checking in. That's where my parents had their honeymoon. That's how you make sure you stay married. Go to Sweetwater.
You go to Sweetwater and babies get produced. That's just the way it happens. For some reason, everybody in the chat is just letting us know where they're coming from. Hunter, that's right. I said it. I got a facial. You know, you go manicure, pedicure. It was an Asian lady, and she had tools. And all I can tell you is that when it was over with, my face was clean, but it was red. That's how it happens. That's what I think of when I go to Beaumont. That and Kendrick Perkins.
Kendrick Perkins and the old Beaumont facial.
That's right.
Yeah.
It sounds even funnier.
When you even worse.
Hey, my wife was there too. She got one just like I did. It sounds bad when you say it, boy. You know, the gutter has really taken over that word in a way that's not exactly fair. I feel bad for the ladies who are giving facials, and all that you get are a bunch of sickos thinking of naughty thoughts. I'll tell you what's not a naughty thought, chat. Talked to a source of mine earlier today about none other than 5-star wide receiver Ryan Wingo. We did an update on Colin Simmons on Friday. The people kind of liked it. It led it to a really good Colin Simmons conversation. And I thought, well, we should do the same thing with Ryan Wingo this week. We'll do a check-in. We'll find out how things are going with the young freshman. Well, I almost don't know. There's a headline in this that I'll get to.
Okay.
But the main thing, so far, it's a lot of what you would expect, right? He's adjusting well. As a early midterm guy, he is already ingraining himself into the program. There's a sense that, you know, physically, I get the sense that people are impressed. You know, he's not the usual freshman was one of the things that was said today. And I thought, well, no shit, he's a 5-star. if the update was, he kind of looks like all of the other guys, that would be the wrong kind of a headline involving Ryan Wingo. But, you know, I got the sense that things are going really well in workouts. There's a great anticipation for the spring. And the thing that stood out to me about the conversation that I had with the source today, I think there's a sense that Ryan Wingo has heard the conversation that we and Texas fans and people that follow the program have been talking about since he kind of arrived. All of the portal guys have come in, and a lot of the conversation has been, well, what does this mean for Jonte Cook? And we've had the conversation of Ryan Wingo where it's like, well, if we don't exactly know what happens with Jonte Cook, how are we really supposed to know what happens with Ryan Wingo this year? We have discussed that maybe he's the Jonte Cook of this season where he's a 4th or a fifth receiver and is a guy that gets some playing time. Jonte Cook had 8 receptions a year ago. So maybe that's the trajectory that Ryan Wingo will be on in 2024. The person I spoke with today basically said that Ryan Wingo is aware of the scuttlebutt. He is not about that 8-catch life as a true freshman in 2024. And it was conveyed to me that there's a lot of excitement and a lot of determinedness that from the very get-go in the spring, that Ryan Wingo comes in and does what Colin Simmons does. That Ryan Wingo comes in and does what maybe an Xavier Filsaime does, which is come in, put a marker down, and say, I am that bad mamma jamma that you thought I was. Hear me roar. I'm going to be heavily involved in playing time this season, not next season, not after Isaiah Bond graduates, not after Silas Bolden is no longer on the roster. The sense that I got from talking to somebody today that knows Ryan Wingo and is familiar with how things have been going so far with him in off-season workouts is that there is determinedness is a word that was mentioned to me. There's a real determinedness to prove very early on that whatever the wide receiver rotation is going to look like this season, and whoever's going to be in it, whether it be Jonte Cook or Silas Bolden or Isaiah Bond or Matthew Golden, it was conveyed to me that Ryan Wingo did not come early to Austin, Texas this semester so that he could essentially take a redshirt season. And by the time I was done having this conversation with the source I was talking to, I found myself really excited about, okay, let's get to March, man. Let's get to March. Let's put some pads on.
Yep.
And let's see what Ryan Wingo does early on. The person that I spoke with said there's an anticipation that from a true freshman wide receiver standpoint, that Ryan Wingo would be closer to Xavier Worthy, not apples to apples from a skill set standpoint, but maybe apples to apples from day 1, day 2, day 3 of being on campus. You know that this guy's going to be an immediate impact player and not somebody that needs 12, 15, 18 months to acclimate himself to college football. So here we are. There's your Ryan Wingo update. My man is ready to get on the field and prove to people that a slow burn is not what his career is going to be about.
That's good news if you're a Ryan Wingo fan. We already had a chatter as you were talking, said, heard a lot of people have been blown away by Wingo's speed. That is certainly a part of his game. Catch, I rewatched some of the highlights of his today. The punt returns are stupid. I don't know if he's going to punt return at all the rest of his college or pro career, whatever. His highlight package, last one, it starts with a punt return, and there's another punt return in there. If you're a fan, please make sure you watch them because it's unbelievable to watch the speed and power combo of Ryan Wingo. But I'm glad to hear, Catch, that is what you're hearing about Wingo. So to me, today's conversation is pretty simple because you've laid all the names out. So let's talk about, obviously, in a 5-wide set, you could throw them all on the field. Cook, Bond, Bolden, Golden, and Wingo. Let's have that discussion of where it all fits because the other day, we talked about the idea that Cook, Bond, and Bolden could end up on a field at the same time, and maybe Matthew Golden is a little more of that floater type of receiver. He could be inside if you need. He could be outside if you need. Let's start with what you think Ryan Wingo is in the perfect college football setting. What is Wingo? Does he have to be one thing, or do you think he could be anything you need?
I mean, he's like Jonte Cook, he's a 5-star prospect. So from a skill talent standpoint, there aren't many guys that he would take a back seat to, period. I think he's most likely an outside wide receiver that I think can play either side. I don't know that he's a slot guy, but I also don't dismiss, we did this with Silas Bolden. There is there's almost a picture in our mind of what a slot receiver looks like. And it's a smaller guy. It's a quick guy. It's somebody who's sitting down in the zone and making catches. And, you know, you think about what Jordan Whittington was. Maybe that's not quite what he was from a size skill standpoint, but you think about his game. It wasn't a lot of big plays. It was a lot of moving the chains and productive plays, but not always the kind of thing that you'd see on SportsCenter at night in a game review package. I think of Wingo as a game breaker, but I think he's one of these guys that you can use in a lot of different capacities. There's been some, the guy that I compared him, there's been some like Deebo Samuel comparisons, and it feels like Deebo's the new go-to guy for anyone who's a hard guy to tackle. It's like, Deebo. And it's like, well, no, I don't know that Deebo Samuel is everybody. There's only one Deebo Samuel. The guy that I compared him to coming out of high school is A.J. Brown. And I think that may be a better glimpse into the window of the talent that he possesses. But I think Wingo's the kind of guy that you can get the ball to in any capacity. So I do see that, shades of that, when you hear the Deebo Samuel comparison because of the way the 49ers use Deebo. But I don't know that that's exactly the way that I think Texas will use Ryan Wingo. But I do think he's a guy that, God, you could do worse things than to get him the ball in that capacity. End arounds, direct snaps, screens. I mean, all of the conventional ways of getting guys the ball and letting them do things after the catch. Texas has a lot of guys that you'd like to see used in that capacity. Wingo, though, is a really unique size and skill set combo. So I'm curious to see how they'll use him. I don't think there was a Ryan Wingo in the Texas offense a year ago. He's certainly not Xavier Worthy. He's not Adonai Mitchell. He's not Jordan Whittington. He's almost like a hybrid of Whittington and Mitchell, that there's a combination of size and skill traits that if you blended those two things together, you might be able to produce. So I think one of the real exciting things about Wingo is he asserts himself in the offseason workouts and he gets ready to go into the spring. And look, where will he be on the depth chart day one? He's going to be working with the twos and working with the threes. He has to climb that ladder to get to working with the ones. I'm curious to hear how they use him. I don't think Sarkisian is going to let us watch a lot of spring football. So it's not like we'll be giving eyes on the ground updates on how he's being used. So I'll be curious to see what the reports sound like, because how they use him and how they think he's best used may give us the best idea of what he has to do to then get on the field. Who does he have to be better than, and in what capacity, to work with the ones and with the twos instead of the twos and the threes?
Got some good chats already coming in. Jesse's already sent in a few. Jesse, hope you're having a good one. At 6'2", hard to see Wingo as a slot. I see him at A.D. Mitchell's spot. Is that?
It's very possible. I mean, Absolutely. The thing is, I always go back to when Xavier Worthy showed up at Texas back in 2021. They thought Xavier Worthy on day one was going to be a slot guy. And on day one of his first day of his career, he lined up in the slot and was behind Jordan Whittington. And it only took one practice for them to realize, well, this dude's got to play. And this guy's got to be on the field. But we also need Jordan Whittington on the field. So they moved him to the outside as a way of being able to get both guys on the field at the same time. I think that's one of the real conversations about this group of wide receivers. If Sark's got to pick three, what's the combo? Because, Jesse, I tend to agree with you. I don't view Wingo as a slot guy at all. But if they think that Wingo's one of the three best guys on the team, I think he could do a job there. I think if you think about who has to match up with guys in the slot, whether it's a linebacker or a safety, you could create some interesting matchup problems with Ryan Wingo in the slot. And again, I don't think Wingo's going to play in the slot, but I don't think it's impossible that he could. I think Texas has a lot of guys. Do you know who I think Wingo is really battling for playing time with? Matthew Golden. I think, Jonte Cook's going to play. I have a hard time. Chad, tell me if you disagree with this statement. I have a hard time believing that Jonte Cook's not one of the 3 best receivers on campus.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. So somewhere on the field, Jonte Cook's going to play. I feel the same way about Isaiah Bond. That guy came from Alabama. He's already being projected as a first-round talent type of guy, at worst a day 2 type talent with all of that speed and playmaking ability. And, he is the father, or I don't know, is Jalen Milroe the father of that play against Auburn, or is it Isaiah Bond, or is it a co-parental,
I don't know,
2 men parental system of that play? Like, I'm not sure.
Who gets to claim the gravedigger? I'm not sure.
Who gets to be the father of the gravedigger?
No idea. Yeah, I'm sure he'll claim it, though.
I bet if you're Isaiah Bond, like, who got open, who caught the ball, I'm the father. Fair enough. So I think you've got those 2 guys, right? It's hard. I can't even think about Silas Bolden right now because he's not on campus. The Silas Bolden conversation begins in earnest this summer. So if that's the case, and we just got to take Silas, as much as we love him, and we got to put him to the side because he's not here yet.
Yeah.
You got Matthew Golden coming in as a transfer. Kind of I wouldn't say similar to Ryan Wingo, but there's some similarities, even if it's not apple to apple. But I think those 2 guys may be competing for playing time against each other. And Golden is a little more established. We know that he's a fantastic special teams player. We know he's a very productive inside-outside receiver a year ago at Houston. I wonder if it's a battle between those 2 guys to get on the field. And if it is, I wonder, I really struggle with trying to handicap who comes out ahead there, because Matthew Golden is very talented and he's very good. But when you look at Ryan Wingo, ends up not quite being a 5-star for Rivals. I think he was a 5-star for 24/7, but he was a national top 50 guy for Rivals, which means that ultimately Rivals views him as a guy that's going to be kind of a second-day NFL draft pick. Because a 5-star means basically that Rivals or any other ranking service thinks that a guy's going to be a first-round draft pick in time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we don't always say it like that, but that's what they mean. That's why so often they match it 32 for 32. And a year ago, Rivals went 31 instead of 32. But what they're ultimately saying with a 5-star ranking is they believe this guy's got first-round ability. Rivals ultimately didn't rank Ryan Wingo like that, but they had him in the 5-star territory for much of last year, and only at the end did they move him out. Do we think Matthew Golden is a second-day guy? I don't know. I tend to not quite think that highly of him. We weren't, when he transferred in, as much as I was hyping up Matthew Golden for how much my Texas sources were really high on him, they weren't talking about him in that kind of territory. But I think that's the expectation for Ryan Wingo. If in 3 or 4 years from now, Ryan Wingo is not a high-level NFL prospect, there will be a lot of thought that he was a bust, that, you know what, he was overranked, not good enough. If he is the guy, though, that people think he is, then the battle between him and Matthew Golden this spring for reps with the ones, I think will be one of the more interesting battles in camp.
Well, and a great point you bring up is the timing on Silas Bolden that I hadn't really factored into it. I was giving Silas Bolden the benefit of the doubt because he's a 3-year starter, because he's got the most experience, and I figure he walks in and we got to interview him on the show, and he says, look, just get me the playbook and get me the installs and I'll be good. But the fact that Wingo gets to be in early, the fact that Golden's going to be in early would, at least for the time being, give them an advantage. So maybe, Catch, we're talking about Bond in the slot, Cook will be on one side, and on the other side, it's a Golden and Wingo battle until Silas Bolden can show up.
Maybe, but I think Allen here makes a really good point. Positionless football, guys. Look at Sark's last year at Bama. That's his ideal football. I don't think Allen's wrong here. I think we almost have to forget. So 2 years ago, what did we have? We had Whittington in the slot, Xavier Worthy on the outside, and then we had a rotating phone booth of guys coming in and out trying to find the starter opposite of Xavier Worthy to take some pressure off of him. Mm-hmm. Then they've got Adonai Mitchell, who comes in last year. So now you've got Mitchell, you've got Worthy, and you've got Whittington. And there wasn't a lot of rotation. Those guys kind of stayed in their spots. It wasn't like that all the time because it wasn't like Xavier Worthy didn't and Adonai Mitchell didn't switch sides. But more times than not, one guy was on the left, one guy was on the right. Whittington was in the slot. And that's kind of the way things broke down. I think Allen is on to something when he talks about positionless football. If you've got 3 or 4 guys that can play every position, then you can move those guys around from play to play, keep defenses off balance. If one of those guys, let's say one guy develops as a true alpha in this receiving group, the ability to be able to move him around all over the field, slot, outside, either side, X, Y, Z, you name it. Well, then you really create matchup problems with the defense because they can't just say, we're going to bracket him on the outside and not give up the deep stuff. Well, what if you put him in the middle? And now you've created a whole new can of worms that they wouldn't necessarily be able to dictate with one single philosophical approach going into a game. You look at what they did at Alabama at the end. You think about when they had Waddle, when they had all of those guys, Devontae Smith,
Mechie, and yeah.
The list goes on and on, right? It was always they had 3 or 4 guys that were first-round picks or second-round picks. Mm-hmm. Those guys were used in a variety of capacities. I think ultimately that's what a Steve Sarkisian offense at Texas looks like. And I think we will eventually get to a season where he has a wide receiver who's a 13, 14, 1,500-yard guy in a season, but he won't be an X. He won't be a Z. He will be a guy that they line up everywhere. We haven't really seen that yet, but this could be a year where we do see that because when you look at Isaiah Bond, while he spent the majority of his reps last season at Alabama inside, I think 40% of his – I think it was like a 60-40 breakdown from slot to outside receiver. Well, not quite 50-50, like, again, more 60-40. But when you look at Matthew Golden, he was another guy that was inside, outside, more outside than inside, but he did a little bit of everything. Bolden and Cook are the 2 guys that we look at right now and say they've mostly been outside guys exclusively. Mm-hmm. But I think Silas Bolden told us, hey, man, put me anywhere. Put me in, coach. Play me anywhere. I'll make it happen. And Jonte Cook built of the similar cloth. I don't think any of these guys are locked into just one space. And I think that makes for a better, more versatile group of receivers that make it even much more difficult to match up against potentially than what we saw a year ago, where you had a better idea of where those guys would be, play in and play out. This could be a receiving unit where the opposite is true, and they're all over the place on any given play. And consequently, from a defensive standpoint, from play to play, you don't even know exactly what you're doing in terms of your pass defense.
Talking Ryan Wingo and the Texas receivers today. Glad you're in on House Divided, the Specs chat. Up over 220 folks already. We appreciate that. Speaking of guys playing inside and outside, whether you like to play inside or outside, Hay City Store is ready for you. You can go outside under those beautiful shade trees. You can go inside to the ice house, or you can even go further inside because they've got an indoor area as well. They're ready for you with the best food, the best drinks, and the best atmosphere that you've ever had. Just good, scratch-made food that'll make you feel comfortable, food that'll make you feel good. Take your friends, take your family, or just go by yourself. I've done all those things, and it works every time. Best key lime pie I've ever had in my life, just to name one of the desserts, and the beverages are awesome. 40 beers on tap. Weather's awesome right now. Get out there and have you a good time at Hayes City Store. They are on FM 150 in Driftwood. Make your plans to get out there today.
I want to be sitting outside, Chad.
Yeah, outside's a good day. Today's one of those outside field days, under the shade tree, and just it's that kind of day. And that conversation, Catch, about the positionless football thing, it's a great one. It's one of those where I hope it's happening. JD sent this chat earlier. I don't see Wingo as a slot either, but if you're good enough in Sark's offense, you pretty much line up anywhere. I think like you said, we've seen some of that at Texas. How much are we going to see? What I'm hoping is that this many talented receivers that do have versatility, he keeps talking about that. Sark loves the word versatility. I hope he means it to the point where he's willing to try different things out. Catch, as I'm rewatching the Ryan Wingo film, when you said A.J. Brown, there's a couple moments when he reminds me of A.J. Brown. I hadn't thought of it till you said it, but it's when he's in the slot. And he runs the slot fade in traffic. He runs the slot fade to the corner of the end zone. There's guys all around him, and he just reaches up and catches the ball calmly, gets the feet down, touchdown, head to the sideline. So if you can actually take a weapon like this, take everything Ryan Wingo can do, and truly move him around, I agree with the viewers today. I agree with the folks today. That is where you want to go. It's just, will Sark do it? I think it's something fans assume all coaches want to do, but I don't truly believe every coach is gutsy enough to do it. It's a tough thing to really do on the field.
Well, and most coaches aren't going to have the talent assembled that Texas does. It's crazy that Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell are at the combine right now, and both guys are being talked about as more Mitchell right now than Worthy as a first-round guy, but almost everybody agrees that Xavier Worthy is almost likely somewhere in the second round. I was looking at the Ringer.com's top 50 prospects earlier today. I think Mitchell was 32 and Worthy was somewhere in the mid-40s. It's crazy that we're talking about those two guys being that well thought of in terms of NFL stuff. And that Texas, the very next year, has put together a wide receiver unit that's being talked about in the same breath, that there won't be a beat skipped, that I think there are some people in the NFL world that think Isaiah Bond's a better draft prospect next year than Xavier Worthy is this year. I don't know that I buy that, but it's certainly something that's being said.
Yeah, I can work my way to that argument. I could see why an NFL mind might think about it that way.
I can too.
Yeah.
The one thing that I haven't seen from any of these guys is that they get as wide ass open that Xavier Worthy does. I could go on a dissertation on Xavier Worthy getting open that could last the next half hour of the show. I won't do that. But the general point is Texas had, this time last year, we were talking about what does the Texas wide receiver unit look like? And Mitchell was somewhat unproven. And it was like, where do they rank against the Ohio States of the world? Is this a top 5 receiving unit? By the end of the year, I think it was kind of a consensus top 5 receiver unit in college football. And everybody kind of thought Ohio State had the best group. And it's hard to argue with who they had playing wide receiver. Marvin Harrison, for everything that we talk about with Mitchell and Worthy, Harrison's going to be the guy that likely goes in the top 10 of the NFL draft, although him not having an agent. I love the Marvin Harrison Sr. jokes of he's not going to have representation, but he'll have somebody representing him because nobody speaks about Marvin. I don't even know if I should say it out loud.
No, I wouldn't either.
You know the whole Marvin Harrison Sr. thing, right? I don't have to say it. Good. I don't want to get in trouble. You guys see me missing in 3 days, and Chad will be like, I tell you what I think I know, but I can't say the name out loud. I'm good.
We're good. No, we're good.
Yes. But, It's one of the more exciting things about this spring is I'm not a car guy, but I once had a nice car, and people who like cars love to look at engines. I think about that scene in The Confused when you got Matthew McConaughey and I forget the actor's name, Nicky Cat, are looking under the hood of the car and they're revving the engine. To me, that's what this spring is for the wide receivers. We know it looks pretty. The names look pretty. You line them all up, and it's like, my God, they're 5-6 deep of guys who are either 5-stars or proven players. It's real easy to look at the list and kind of forget about Ryan Wingo because he just showed up, because he is a true freshman, because he hasn't even gone through a single practice with pads on at the collegiate level in his entire career. And yet, along with Wingo and Bond, there's nobody maybe on the entire roster that's as exciting to think about as he is from just a football prospect standpoint, God-given gifts. As good as some of these other guys are, as productive of a football player as Matthew Golden has been so far at Houston, from a God-given gift standpoint, Ryan Wingo doesn't take a backseat to many people in college football, period. So I can't wait to see what's under the hood with these guys in the spring. It will give us an idea of what to expect in the summer and then what we can expect going into August. And then when we start thinking about Michigan and the Big House and who's going to be on the field that day, every once in a while you get an Xavier Worthy at a wide receiver position or a Jamal Charles at running back. It's incredible to think about back in 2005 that on that national championship team, all of the talent that they had, when they went into Columbus that night to take on Ohio State, second weekend of the season, that Jamal Charles was and he wasn't an early enrollee guy, right? He didn't even have the luxury that some of the freshmen today have. That, sometimes guys are just that good. And I wonder when we talk about Ryan Wingo and Jonte Cook for that matter, I wonder if sometimes they're just that damn good. And we can talk about production that other guys have. If you even go back to that 2005 team, Selvin Young, Ramonce Taylor, I guess those would have been the main two guys at the running back position off the top of my head. And yet a guy like Jamal Charles shows up and it's like, well, I don't know about them other dudes, coach, but they ain't better than me. So I'm going to play a lot. And I wonder, is that who Ryan Wingo is? Again, if you missed it at the very top and talking to Sourcing today about Wingo, he's impressing the hell out of people. And there's a real sense, determinedness. Again, the word given to me today that when spring football starts, he won't be a guy that's languishing between the second and the third team, a scout team guy clawing his way up to just get on the two deep. There's a sense that there's a lot more in the tank from day one than being somebody's leftover football player.
We appreciate all the great chats today. If you want to send us a super chat, they go right to the top of the list. And of course, Specs brings you the chat throughout the shows all over Orange Bloods Live. Let's let Lisa tell you a little bit about Specs.
No matter what you're needing, Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
Catch, we had a question question earlier from Vivek. Simple one, maybe. Is Wingo faster than A.D. Mitchell for you?
No. I think they're even-ish.
About even? Okay.
Yeah.
Another one from Jesse. Jesse, thank you for the chats today. Catch, maybe I'm missing it, but is there even a way any team besides maybe Georgia is going to be able to double team our receivers? Jesse feeling the confidence of the receiver room.
I don't think so. I mean, I think that's the luck. I don't know that when the season starts, I don't think anybody will go into the season thinking that a double team is needed. And I don't know that they'll automatically know who they should double team. So I think that type of discussion remains to be seen. Because I don't think, Xavier Worthy comes back. Teams a year ago decided very early on, look, if we get Mitchelled, if we get Sanders did. How do you pluralize Sanders?
Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough one.
If we get Whittington, they could live with that. But they weren't going to get Worthy. Not deep. So what did teams do all season long? They refused to let Xavier Worthy beating them deep be the thing that brought down their empire on a Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that about Isaiah Bond yet? Does Michigan go into the game against Texas and say, look, we don't know what the hell's going to happen with that passing game. They haven't even played anybody yet. So we don't know who Ewers feels most comfortable with. We don't even know who the number one receiver really is in that offense. But by God, we're not letting Bond beat us. I don't think so.
No.
So I think these are questions that will get answers over the course of a season. But very early last year, the one thing that teams absolutely decided they were going to take away was the deep vertical shot to Xavier Worthy. And we've talked about it on this show time and time again. How many times after the Alabama game did you watch Ewers go back, look deep? Very first read was go route, Xavier Worthy, is it there? And his eyes would go from here to here. And he got to be really good at it. He wasn't forcing the football. He was taking what the defense gave him. We could have a conversation about maybe they should have pressed it a little bit more, although they did get to the playoffs. So, it's hard to nitpick what the offense did a year ago too much, considering it was the catalyst in getting to the Sugar Bowl and within, I hate to say it, I'm sorry, Texas fans, within a play of playing in the national championship game. One of these days, Chad, we're just going to have to go. We're going to have to, like in April, when the spring's over with, we're just going to have to stop. And we're going to have to go back and revisit that final minute against Washington because they were that close.
Ugh.
You know who else says that? Kansas State. Somewhere right now, there's a show in Manhattan, Kansas, in the Apple where they're like, you know what? We haven't been able to talk about it, but let's go back and review what the hell happened when Will Howard got the ball down to the 7-yard line and they had 4 plays from the 7 to punch it in and upset Texas. And the whole season changes from that moment on. They aren't able to do it. It's weird that the same thing happened to Texas. Not quite apple for apple, but kind of at the end of that game against Washington.
Yeah, that's a great point. Jesse, thank you for that chat. A lot of good stuff already coming in today. So we're talking receivers today. Also, we're going to take a peek at a new Rivals list because the Rivals 250 got updated later in the day yesterday. Some things started to get updated on the 5-star front. Now the whole list has been updated. We will get to a little bit of that and get Ketch's thoughts on it. Real quick, though, Ketch, I want to get your thoughts on my perfect franchise in case somebody's got a great idea. You got a guy that can help them.
I do. You need to reach out to Andy. You need to reach out to Andy Ledke right now, myperfectfranchise.net, and find out, can he help you? You've got an idea, you've got a dream, you've got a concept for a business that could change your life, but what's step 1? And then what's step 2 after step 1? And then step 3 and step 4. A hope. Told my wife this last night. Hope is not a plan. Andy Ledke from myperfectfranchise.net. You can have the hope. Let him be the guy that gives you the plan. Call that number 404-973-9901 or just email him, Andy at myperfectfranchise.net. I would just say text him. You don't pay him anything until progress and steps have been taken. But he wants to talk to you. He wants to find out if he can help you, prove to you that he can help you. And then once that starts happening, then he's going to make a little bit of money as you start to make money as well. But this isn't a cash grab. It's not like you call the guy, you got to give him $99.99 to find out. This isn't like a 900 phone number deal. This is reach out to him and find out, is this the guy that can help you create your dream come true? And if you can, hitch that wagon up and let's go to town. So again, reach out to Andy. This isn't rocket science. You either have an idea and a dream or you don't. If you do and you need help to make it come true, That's what he's there for. He could be your own magical fairy godmother, like in Cinderella. Think of it like that. Except if it all works out the way that it should, there'll be no clock strikes midnight. You just get to go to the ball and have a good time and never have to look back. MyPerfectFranchise.net.
It is House Divided on a Tuesday. We're going to need to take a little time at the end of the show today to discuss a rumor that I've gotten from one of my sources that this man, Jeff Ketchum, played pickleball yesterday. We're going to have to get into that. That's after buy or sell.
First time ever, Chad.
First time ever on a pickleball court. We're going to get the full report. But speaking of the full report, Ketch, would you like to take a little peek at the new full Rivals rankings? Little Rivals 100, maybe? You want to take a peek?
Hey, you know me, man. I love recruiting rankings. I love super blue chips. I love combing through everything and seeing who the new guys are. And yes, Rivals.com released its new Rivals 250. We talked about the 5 stars yesterday, primarily on the recruiting hour, because Ty Haywood out of Denton Ryan is a new 5-star offensive lineman in the Rivals rankings. By the way, if you missed the recruiting hour from yesterday, we talked about DJ Sanders and why he might be the number one most important prospect in the state for every school that recruits the state of Texas, for reasons that you can watch the video and find out about. But as we talk about the new Rivals 250, Chad just put the list up, and let's kind of go through it a little bit.
Yeah, if you're a Texas fan, you're going to recognize some names here. And again, this is the whole country. This is everybody. Rivals 250. So let's get them on here.
Chad, real quick.
Yeah.
I'm done entering in my buy or sell questions.
Uh-huh.
I have a hotter than.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to overhype it. I'm going to go last today.
Okay, fair enough.
I have maybe the most interesting, out of nowhere, hotter than question that I've ever asked before. And I'll be honest, I don't know how to answer it.
All right, fair enough.
That's called a tease, people out there in the business.
That's a tease. That's a tease. We got buy or sell coming up. Here are the recruits that everybody would buy right now at the top of the Rivals rankings. So you got a young man named Julian Lewis there at the top. But Catch, real quickly, we see DeCorian Moore at number 4. How about 4 and 5 names we talked about? DeCorian Moore, Devin Sanchez. They faced each other in a title game. One headed to LSU in DeCorian Moore. Ohio State is Devin Sanchez. But as we cruise,
it's a hell of a thing that the top 2 kids in the state of Texas are already committed, and both of them to out-of-state schools.
Yeah, that is a bit of a statement. That is a bit of a statement right there. So, but if you are a Texas fan, you're going to see some names you like coming up pretty quickly. As we get to the end of the top 10, there's a name we've talked about, Catch. Michael Fasusi.
Michael Fasusi, a guy that I future casted to Texas. He's at number 11. There's Jonah Williams. We talked about him yesterday. I projected him, future casted him to Oklahoma, although both A&M and Texas trying to get back in on that. I think a couple of interesting names. Man, we're about to go back to back to back to back. Winston Watkins Jr., this wide receiver from Naples, Florida, he's got like a top 10. He is going to visit Texas this spring.
Okay.
I don't know how to handicap Texas's chances, but I wouldn't completely dismiss them, because once they get guys like that on campus, Sarkisian's proved to be an excellent recruiter. But file that name away. Jordan Davison, the running back from Mater Dei, he's at 15, excuse me. Yeah. I future casted him to Texas. And there goes Ty Haywood, the offensive tackle from Denton Ryan.
Catch, look at this jump. Look at this. My man didn't just creep into 5-star status, a 43 spot jump to number 16.
That gives you an idea. This is the big postseason. This is coming out of his junior season. Rivals really liked him. They're telling you with that, Chad, they love him.
Yeah.
That's a jump.
No kidding. Now, how about
there's another name there, KJ Lacey, the Texas quarterback commitment from Alabama. He dropped a spot, but he's still 19th in the country. I think as long as he stays in that area, we're talking about a guy that will eventually get a 5-star ranking. Here's another guy, number 22 on the list. either Jamie or Jaime French, another guy that's going to take an unofficial visit to Texas.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, it might even be an official. I need to go back and look. I saw that update in another service rankings, I think a week ago. We need to get in contact with him ourselves. He's got a visit for Texas coming up in the near future. Then if you just keep scrolling, we're still in that event. These guys all right here will be 5 stars if they keep their positioning later in the year. Rivals doesn't like to give out a ton of 5 stars early on. Dorian Brew, number 33 there, Chad.
Yep.
From Conroe. Long thought to be an Ohio State lean. I think they're still the betting favorite because he lived in Ohio and then moved to Texas last year. But he visited Texas on January 20th, and there's a lot of growing speculation that the Longhorns sit in a better position there than maybe a lot of people believe, that he's not quite locked into Ohio State the way maybe we all thought he was a year ago or even 6 months ago. Andrew Marsh at 34, a guy that we talked about a lot yesterday. He's visited Texas 9 times. He's visited A&M, I think, 7 times. He's from Katy. He visited A&M in January. I think there's a thought that they've got the lead, but that could turn into a Texas A&M battle by the time the summer rolls around. He's a guy to keep an eye on. If you just keep scrolling down, I'll keep looking for names of guys that I think Texas fans absolutely need to know. Keep going, keep going, keep going.
I think there's a couple more here before we hit the 100 mark that we've talked about a little bit. There's Armstrong.
There's my guy. Let me just say this about Keoti Armstrong. It's rare in the near 30 years. God, I hate saying that. But my first set of rankings, Chad, were in 1997.
Okay.
We're into 2025. So I really am on the verge of 30 years worth of ranking. 30 years! And in my 30 years of doing this, there may only be one other tight end from the state of Texas ever that I've looked at and been more sure of that was going to end up playing on Sundays than I am of Keoti Armstrong. This kid is 6'5", 246, athletic as hell. He can block. He can catch. He can beat you down the seam. He can beat you with jump balls. He's just a monster. I think he's undervalued at 66. Let's see if you can guess the tight end in my head that I would most compare him with. I would say this kid's not quite as just raw athletic as the guy that I'm thinking of, but he's every bit as big and physical and a two-way player and a guy that I'm certain if Keoti Armstrong doesn't get hurt and doesn't get sidetracked by any of the things that can sidetrack a guy, school, family, girls, whatever, all the stuff, right? If it's just about, is he talented enough? Who do you think's the only guy that I would rank above him off the top of my head in the last 30 years?
Martellus Bennett.
Bingo. Bingo.
Yeah.
And outside of Martellus Bennett, when we talk about tight ends from the state of Texas, there's really nobody else in the last 30 years. You think about a guy like Tony Hills, he ends up being an offensive tackle for Texas. And a lot of people thought he would be a defensive end when he was being recruited at the time. He was a 5-star number 1 overall player in the state. There have been a couple of other guys that are kind of in that discussion, but I think Armstrong's underrated at 66. Mm-hmm. If that kid just stays healthy and doesn't let silly stuff bring him down, if he just keeps his focus, that guy could give everybody loans in 6 or 7 years because I think he's absolutely an NFL player. Here's another one at 69. And look, Chad, you see that lightning bolt?
There's a 33 move, 33 positions move from Michael Terry.
He is, I think, one of the bigger Longhorn leans on this list.
Okay.
At San Antonio, Alamo Heights, he was outside the top 100. Now he's a borderline super blue chip at number 69 in the country. He's an incredible athlete. 7. Here's a couple of more guys. It felt like we went about 20 names in a row, and there wasn't a lot of Texas connection. But both Dalen McCutcheon's an in-state guy. It hasn't. I don't know exactly where he fits in with Texas's plans. But Riley Pettyjohn, the inside linebacker from McKinney, they went and got Xavier Filsaime, and now you've got Riley Pettyjohn as a linebacker from McKinney. He's another guy. I future casted him to Texas. He is one of the most important prospects that Texas is recruiting this year in state from a positional scarcity standpoint. 6'3", 200, and filling out and growing. I think he's a guy to keep an eye on. Khalik Lockett, the wide receiver from Sage.
There's two right back to back right there, right?
Oh, and then Lamont Rogers is my guy. I think they've got him undervalued because I think Lamont Rogers is closer to Michael Fasusi than he is to any of these guys down here in this part of the list. He's a they got him listed at 6'8", 305. He's just a beautiful athletic specimen with a mean streak and all the physicality that you're looking for. I'm just a huge, huge fan. Plus, I think I'm the first one that ever ranked Lamont Rogers as a 5-star. So he's my guy. Okay. We can keep going, I guess, all the way down to 100 just to fill out this last couple of names.
I like that there's a running back named Bo Jackson. I've heard Alabama just threw him an offer.
No pressure, Bo.
No pressure, Bo. Alabama would love to get a Bo Jackson at running back. That'd be a fun story for them to tell.
That would. If you're Auburn, isn't that your sales pitch? Hey, we did it before. We can do it again.
Catch it 93 here is a name I know that was on your this guy Chad Woodfork was on your list for the 10 thoughts this weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah, I future casted him to Texas as well. There's some thought that he was so into Texas in January that he would have committed and that maybe Texas pushed that commitment off. It's not because they think Woodford isn't a big-time guy that they wouldn't want to have. You and I have talked about this a bunch, though. Texas likes to pursue. They don't like to be on the defensive. So I think that they absolutely will take Woodford in the summer, but I don't think they want to start playing defensive recruiting at this point if they don't have to. So I think they've said take your time, because if he takes his time, it means that Texas can be aggressive. It means that they don't have to constantly put out fires created by other schools who are trying to break up the commitment. So I think it's really about pacing themselves. This coaching staff, they prefer to chase. They prefer to pursue. They don't like to have to protect. They want to protect as little as possible. If you'll remember when Colin Simmons committed in August, one of the things I was saying about Colin Simmons was Texas would kind of prefer that he just waited. And when he announced his decision in August, they were absolutely going to take it if he was going to say Texas. But they would have been okay with him not giving a commitment in August and wait till November and December, so that when he does commit, there's as little time for them to have to play defensive recruiting as possible. They like to be on the front foot. They're not a recruiting staff that wants to counterpunch. And the moment that you get a commitment from a guy, look at KJ Lacey as a perfect example. He's committed. There's almost nothing that you can do at this point more, right? You can try, but he's already committed to you. So they're counterpunching. It's like, oh, he went to Auburn this week. Catch, what do you think about that? You got to get a report on that. What does it mean? If he were just not committed, wouldn't be a big deal at all. Oh, KJ Lacey went to Auburn. But the moment that a guy commits, it makes everything that happens beyond that a news story. Look at DeCorian Moore. He feels like he's safely committed to LSU at the moment. But there's talk that he's committed to taking a visit to A&M at some point, which if he's going to do that, my guess is he'll visit Texas. And the moment he takes a visit, it's a story. And that LSU staff will have to counterpunch. They'll have to counter whatever happens on these visits instead of just being able to aggressively pursue. the way that you do when a guy's uncommitted. So I think with Woodfork, don't worry too much about that, because I think the Texas staff, as much as possible, they want these kids to wait until you get into the summer.
All right, there's a little peek at that new rivals list. It has been updated. Remember, if you want access to all the rivals lists and all the message boards and all the information, you can check out orangebloods.com. There's a little QR code for you. If you want to scan that, check out orangebloods.com. Every Thursday night, it's War Room night. You get the great columns throughout the week as well, including Catch's 10 Thoughts from the weekend. That hits on Sundays. We got buy or sell coming up. We might have time for pickleball discussion. Real quick, let's talk about some heavy breathing, light breathing, bad breathing. Whatever you got going on, sinus and snoring specialists can make it better breathing. If you have sleep apnea, like I had, like my wife had, there's different ways to deal with it. Not everybody's the same. My wife's path, a little different than mine. She's dealing with the CPAP machine right now, and she loves it. She's sleeping like a baby. With me, it was a little bit different. It was the balloon sinuplasty procedure. They got rid of my allergies for good. At the very end of it, I had a dentist in town. Shout out to Dr. Eckert, who made the dental device that I wear every night. And I've worn that, which helps me. So there's different ways for different folks, but they can definitely help you out. 512-601-0303. Can obviously scan the QR code there. And when you go see Dr. Slaughter, let him know you heard about it here on Orange Bloods Live. He's been doing it over 20 years. Catch was talking about almost 30 years of recruiting. Well, Dr. Slaughter's been doing ear, nose, and throat a long damn time too, and he's the absolute best at it. Check him out. Sinus and snoring specialists. Feel clear, rested, and healthy. All right, Catch, you ready for a little buy or sell today? Have I given you enough time to get all your questions ready? You're ready to roll?
I'm completely ready.
But I'm first.
Go first. And then when we're done with the epic final hotter than question of the day, I'll give you a quick synopsis of what happened on my initial pickleball experience.
Okay, first pickleball experience. You're the first person that I know personally that's actually played pickleball, so I'm interested in this.
Yeah, no, all right, Blake, former producer Blake, is an avid pickleball player.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
I spoke to him last night on the phone. He says hello, by the way.
Nice.
And when I told him that I played pickleball, he was more excited than I was.
Nice. Shout out to Blake, the super producer. It is a growing cult in this country. So I'm fascinated to know what you thought. Buy or sell number one, Catch. You still like Jaden Blue to be that 1,000-yard back for Sark this season?
It's a mini buy. I think he's the more talented back between him and CJ Baxter. He's the guy that averaged 6 yards per carry last season, and Baxter's the guy that averaged 4.8. I think he's the bigger game breaker between the two, and yet I can't ignore that it's been a while since he's been leaned on as a feature back. You have to really go back to his junior year in high school because he didn't play as a senior. But you know what? I'm already out there on the Jaden Blue limb. Let's not worry about whether the branch starts to make cracking noises or not. I'll say bye, and I'll realize that we might fall off the branch before it's all said and done.
Fair enough. By the way, shout out to our guy Cody Carpentier of Orange Bloods. If you haven't checked out that column where he goes through why CJ Baxter could be that next guy, there's some interesting numbers. He goes all the way through Sark's career with the different running backs, how they were ranked, all that stuff. And he sets up an argument for why it's going to be CJ Baxter. But I also think there's little gaps in there where you can see how it could be Jaden Blue. Fascinating article. Check it out at orangebloods.com. All right, Catch. Buy or sell number two. T'Vondre Sweat's big weigh-in is coming up on Thursday. You think he'll be a good version of 265?
265?
I'm sorry.
No. No, he will not be the good version of 265.
I'm terribly sorry. That should be a 3. The good version of 365. My bad. I don't want to alarm all NFL teams. T'Vondre Sweat is not going to weigh in at 265. My bad. He will be a good 365.
Bye. I'll go positivity. I don't want on the eve of the weigh-in, I don't want to be negative. So I'm going to say bye. If I'm him, I find the best steam room in Indianapolis, and every ounce of water weight that I can get out of my body before I get on the scale. I'm Thursday morning, I'm steaming for an hour and a half. And I know that sounds dangerous, right? Go sit in the steam room for an hour and a half. When I belonged to the club El Rey way back in the day, when you and I first started doing radio in 2008, and I'd go over to the club off of 5th and I can't remember. It's like maybe 5th and Guadalupe. I can't quite remember where it was.
I went over there and hung out with you a couple times.
I would go in there in the steam room, and I was just in there all the time. I love being in there. The key, steam for get a good sweat in, and then go take a ridiculously cold shower, and then recoup, and then get back in there and steam again. If he does that for a good 2 hours, I've got faith that he can get under 365.
Nice. By the way, I want you, next time you talk to Blake, the super producer, I want you to let him know that I edited a buy or sell real time when I screwed it up. I want you to let him know that happened. I got that edited just for you. All right. Buy or sell. Number 3 catch. Today is Hall of Fame tight end Tony Gonzalez's birthday. You can tell me where he went to college.
Cal.
Absolutely. Kids, if you didn't know it, that is where Tony Gonzalez went to school. I don't remember him in college at all. I just remember he got to the NFL and started wrecking shop.
I don't either, but he had a relation. Like Sean Adams knew him back in the day.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Tony Gonzalez. He's definitely in that wave of tight ends that made you think completely differently about the position if you already were not thinking differently. Buy or sell. Number 4 catch. If I made you bet on one men's college basketball team to win it all, you'd take Houston.
So I would take UConn.
Okay.
But it's funny that you should ask that. I've got a U of H basketball question in my buy or sell as well.
Fair enough. Houston just took that spot from UConn. UConn had gone like 6 or 7 weeks with it. Houston just took it back. Definitely a team to pay attention to. And finally, catch buy or sell number 5. Looks like no tag for Tony Pollard from the boys. He's going to be a free agent. You trust the team to get a better running back for 2024?
Well, sell. I mean, you just said the word trust in the Cowboys. I don't know how much I trust. But I feel like the running back position being what it is, Tony Pollard did not have a great year last year. He was good. He wasn't great, though. Not the way people thought he might be great when Zeke Elliott left. And it was like, okay, now it's Tony Pollard's show, and let the guy be a superstar from here. The fact that they're not putting a tag on him kind of gives you an idea that they do think that they can at least find somebody equal to Tony Pollard. I'm confident that they can find someone in the Tony Pollard back like zip code, but absolutely better. I won't say that.
Fair enough. That's my part of buy or sell. Catch, what do you got?
Buy or sell. Number 1. Our brains are in similar positions. I've got a Cowboys question as well. Here we go. Buy or sell number 1. The Cowboys have a better chance of going to the NFC title game in 2024, the 2024 season, than the Longhorns have of beating Tech in Lubbock tonight.
That's fantastic. A better chance of getting to the NFC title game. And you know what? I'm going to sell, because a lot of times when all that emotion comes into play, you think you can close the door. You think you can just take the knife and easily stick it in. That's what Nebraska thought, and it didn't work. And that's what the other teams have thought. Nebraska in football, remember that year when they were supposed to just wipe Texas out? It didn't happen. Saying goodbye to a team like that, a little harder than you think. Now, am I picking Texas to win? No, I don't know. I don't know about that, but I'm going to say sell. I'm going to say they've got a better chance tonight than the Cowboys will have to make the title game in 24.
I agree with you. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, no.
Buy or sell number 2. Ryan, I didn't mean to cut you off. Were you going to say something?
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Ryan Wingo catches more than 10 passes in the 2024 season.
Ooh, this is an interesting one. There's a bit of a trap nature because I am interested in the Jonte Cook part of this thing, and I don't want to take things away from Jonte, but I will believe in that versatility, and I also do believe Wingo is a stud. So, yeah, I'm going to buy that. So that's 11 passes or more. I'll buy that. I think Jonte Cook is going to be, even above that mark. But yes, I'll take Wingo for 11 or more.
Buy or sell number 3. If you were in charge of the Bears, you're drafting Caleb Williams and trading Justin Fields.
This is a good one. One of the big questions in the NFL right now. Yeah, right now I would say buy, because if it hasn't happened, maybe it's just not going to happen, and you got to move. And I don't know that whatever Justin Fields whatever hole has been dug for him, both he and the team or whatever that have dug for him, getting out of it's going to be tough. Caleb could come in fresh. Yeah, I'll buy.
All right. Buy or sell number 4. Obviously, you noticed U of H, the new number 1 team in college basketball.
Mm-hmm.
The Texas women in the Associated Press up to number 3 in the women's poll.
Look out.
Buy or sell. The U of H men have a better chance of making it to the Final Four than the Texas women.
Yeah, I'm going to buy because of guard play and kind of the pieces that you need. That Texas women's team, they're going to fight like hell in every game, and I think they got a shot. But considering what Shed and that crew have at the guard spots, I'm going to say they have a better chance to get to the Final Four than the Texas women do. It's close, though. It's close. I love the fight in that Texas team, and I hope I see them do it, but I'll say Houston's got a slightly better chance. I'll give them that respect.
When in doubt, go with the team with a better guard play, I suppose.
Right. It's ball handling, man. With Jamal, because I know in one case Jamal Shedd's bringing the ball down the floor, and in the other case, Texas is putting some things together in the women's game that could work, but the ball handler I want out there is not.
All right, and finally, buy or sell number 5. It is a game of hotter than. It is prime on prime.
Prime on prime.
It's a battle. Are you familiar with the sports movie Wet Blankets?
No.
It's the concept of like a guy's got a girlfriend or a wife, but they're always bringing him down and telling him he can't do something, and just adds negativity to the movie.
Okay.
You with me?
I got you. Okay. All right.
Buy or sell. Adrian from Rocky. Hotter than Mira Fleener from Hoosiers. So Talia Shire versus Barbara Hershey in a game of hotter than.
Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting. The wet blankets from sports movies. All right. Adrian from
You can't win, right?
Adrian from Rocky.
You can't win. Hotter than I want you to lose your job, and is it true you hit a guy back in the day when you were coaching? All
right, so here's what I have to do. I have to take your buy or sell literally. So when you say Adrian from Rocky, I'm going to take that as Adrian from Rocky, not Rocky.
Not 4. The Godfather, not any other movies.
but also not Rocky 4. You just said you can't win. That's Rocky.
No,
4.
it's I'm letting you know the spirit of the question. Mm-hmm. It is Adrian from all of the Rocky movies.
Adrian from any and all Rocky movies. Now we're into a different game. Hotter than Mira Fleener from Hoosiers. I'm going to buy and take Adrian. I've always been a big fan. I think the scene on the beach in Rocky 3 is the greatest scene in any Rocky movie. She's the reason why. There's just a great gritty hotness to her at key moments in those movies. So I'm taking Adrian. Yo, Adrian.
I kind of disagree with you. Because when Mira Fleener is like working on the farm in
she's
Hoosiers,
nice. Yeah,
there's some like rolling around in the hay.
Yeah,
it's literal, right? Like if you're with Mira, you are literally rolling in the hay.
Yeah,
I think you're right. I think it is Adrian hotter than. I apologize to Barbara Hershey, by the way.
Hey, once you let me have franchise, it's Adrian. If you would just let me stay where I was going to go with Hershey.
Because
the Adrian from Rocky 1 alone is not hotter than the
one. Because she's all nerdified in
That's
Rocky.
what I'm saying. That's where I was headed. And then you said, no, you wanted to make it the full thing. Well, if it's full gambit, I gotta go Adrian.
I can't stop thinking about the suggestion that Rocky and Apollo had an affair in Rocky 3. And that's the reason why he never called Apollo's wife after he was responsible for Apollo's death.
Yeah, it's funny that I can stop thinking about that a lot. I haven't thought of it since you said it.
Are you ready for some pickleball?
I am. Give me your report. How was pickleball?
I kind of liked it.
Okay.
The thing is, I kind of like tennis, though. I don't understand why we just don't play tennis.
Well, you know me, I'm a tennis guy.
I mean, I guess it's the court is a little smaller.
Okay.
But it's not so small that we couldn't just play tennis.
Doesn't it just take the aspects of like ping pong and tennis and just kind of put those together? Isn't that sort of what it is?
I never considered last night that we were playing a version of ping pong, although it's like a wiffle ball.
Yeah.
And I will say on multiple occasions, I got wiffle balled yesterday. Like I had a ball hit to me and I set up to return it. And the ball did a thing in the air that tennis balls can't do.
Yeah, that would definitely, I'd have to get used to that one as a tennis player, of the ball doing weird things. What about the sound? Was that okay for you? I've heard that's annoying.
About the sound, the thing that I realized was like just how much I need to get my ass in shape. Because what I've got in my brain is the things that I used to be able to do. And my brain works faster than my body does right now. So there were a couple of moments where I thought, oh, well, I just got to get to the ball. And it didn't happen. And then at one point I decided like a ball was hit short into the area that they call the kitchen, like an area of the court that the ball can't hit on a serve. And it's called the kitchen. I don't know if they call it the kitchen everywhere or if that's just what they called it yesterday at the place where I was playing pickleball. But I went to hit a ball that had been hit into the kitchen. And let's just say about 14 people asked me if I was okay after I went for the ball.
Your kitchen got remodeled in the kitchen? Is that what you're saying?
The thing is, the court's not clay. And the court's not like that rubber sport court either.
No. Well, I'm assuming you're on like a hard court, like a tennis court.
It's Flushing Meadows.
Yeah, asphalt.
And my body hurts today from taking a spill on the hard court.
Okay.
It made me want, A, to either play on clay, which maybe that doesn't work with the whole wiffle ball thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that
Or
has.
B, can I get a rubber surface? Because I have to believe that the rubber surface would have felt better to land on face first than like I got a hit. You know what I did last night? Like I got naked and went and got in front of the mirror to see if like I had old man bruising. You ever seen like an old person bruise? And then like after they've taken a little fall, the whole body's green and blue and black. And it's like, what did you do? And it's like, oh, I fell 2 feet. It's like, damn, it looks like you died. And what happened? I can report that I didn't have serious bruising, which made me feel good. It's not like I'm an 85-year-old man yet, but the body hurts. It doesn't hurt as bad as if you and I went out to play an hour-long game of touch football, and the next day it's like, holy crap, my body hurts. We weren't even playing tackle. Why? It doesn't feel that bad, but I feel that court today.
Would you go back and play pickleball again?
Yeah, again, I like playing tennis.
Okay. Now, just a nerdy scoring question. Did you play a side out version of it where only the server can score, or did you play where anybody could score?
No, it was like, well, first of all, we didn't play a game, but we played by official scoring rules.
Okay. Which
is weird when you're playing doubles. Like once you win a point off of a serve, the other person on the doubles team gets to serve. So each side of service allows both people to serve. So let's say I serve first. And I get an ace if they even do that. But let's say I had an ace. We flipped sides. I served again. If you win the point, then on my team, Heather now gets to serve. And only after we both had lost points does it then go to the other side.
I see. And can you score a point if you're returning serve?
I mean, I don't know how they keep score. Again, we didn't keep score.
Okay.
I'm just telling you how it played.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I've not played this game yet, and I've not watched it being played enough to know. I tried to watch the TV version with McEnroe and Agassi, but something literally occurred on the first point that made me so mad, I just deleted it from my DVR immediately.
I just think the story is that my legs hurt.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. All right. Well, there you go.
And my side.
There's the catch pickleball report. All right. Are you ready? Gonna be ready to roll for Modcast this afternoon at 4:00? Pickleball and facials. Yeah.
No comment.
Yeah, I like this too. Maybe this goes with it. Easier in the joints too.
It'd have been easier if I had a joint.
And pickleball and facials. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So this afternoon, 4:00.
I'm good for 4:00. It'll be me, Sukumel, and Mr. Richardson.
There you go. Anwar, Ketch, and Jason Sukumel with the Modcast this afternoon at 4. Make sure to check that out on Orange Bloods Live. Thank you to over 200 folks through the whole show today. We appreciate you on the Specs chat. Shout out to Specs, as always, for being a great partner. Like, subscribe, and get your notifications to Orange Bloods Live. We appreciate you jumping in. Stay safe through the rest of your Tuesday. We will be back tomorrow until, by the way, Longhorn fans, as of today, you are 3 weeks away from spring practice beginning. 21 days from today, spring practice gets started. Until high noon tomorrow, we are house divided.